Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, MBC Lifestyles Diary. My name is Marie, I live in New York, and I love fashion, travel, and cultural events, and I'm asking you to join me on the adventure. We are on Oasis of the Seas of Royal Caribbean, and this feels like our ship because we've been on it so frequently. Here we are having lunch at Chop's Grill, which is one of the things that you pay extra for, but it's well worth it because the food was delicious, and lunchtime is more reasonable than dinner time. So we're on the Oasis of the Seas, which was the first of its class and built in 2007. It was the first ship to be able to take on 6,000 passengers and had so many activities for the passengers to enjoy. So also it was really a wonderfully stabilized ship, which made it a pleasure to be on. After Oasis of the Seas, there are several other ships that came in the Oasis class that got bigger and bigger. And in 2023, the biggest came Icon of the Seas, once again setting world history for largest cruise ship. This is our second day on the cruise, and it's also formal night. And I had been telling Manny that he needed a jacket. He was so upset, and he kept asking me, "Oh, is this the night I have to wear a jacket?" So I'm like, what is Manny going to show up in? Is he going to show up in a checkerboard suit? And he surprised us all. He looked very elegant, and people were asking him which record label does he represent and which artist is he managing. It was a nice evening, and of course it's very festive. That's when you get to wave your napkins in the air and show appreciation for the staff. Formal night has become a little more relaxed, so the attire isn't as strict. Some people come in tux, and some people just need a sports jacket. But I will say that Manny rose to the occasion. Look at his beautiful watch, and look at his glorious outfit. He looked like he was Mr. Royal Caribbean. Our first stop was Florence, Italy. And Manny and Isley had done a wonderful job of selecting excursions, which was new to me. I don't usually go out on a lot of excursions on these ships because, you have to get up early, you have to meet in the auditorium, and then, you get led around in a group of 20 people or so on an itinerary that you did not pick. But we keep our minds open and experience everything that has to be offered, and thank goodness Manny and Isley took charge of this. So on this, we were going to the Tuscan Farmhouse experience. So that was about an hour out of Florence to Tuscany, and we were going to a farm, and they grew olives. It was very romantic. There was a carriage ride to the building or to the Tuscan Farmhouse where we would be having lunch, and lunch consisted of 2 different types of pasta and lots of bottles of wine. We disembarked from the bus and we got on the carriage ride, which I enjoyed, and this was the son of the owner. Well, it was a family business, and he was giving us the history. He was telling us about the Tuscan region. He was showing us the olive trees, and everybody seemed pretty satisfied because, this is the visions of Italy that we have from the movies. I always have to say that because that is a big influence. So here we are at the Tuscan farm. There's the buildings where they were going to do an Airbnb. And, we got to walk around, and I could see this as a beautiful wedding venue or a birthday celebration, but it was very pretty. The tables were set up family style, and it was a family style meal. There was bread, there was pasta, there was wine, And you also had to sit with people that you might not have sat with if not for this occasion. And we got to sit with a lovely couple from Canada, and they were on their honeymoon. It was a beautiful view. The food was very good, and you felt like you were experiencing something totally different than your normal life. The weather was beautiful, and it was wonderful to be in all this greenery, and to hear a little bit more about this Tuscan farm. It was 4 generations of family was here and owned it and operated it. And whoever came up with this tour was brilliant, because he seemed to understand the American Canadian sensibility. And he too must have watched Under the Tuscan Sun. The wine that we were drinking was also produced on this farm, so they created it in small batches, and so you could also purchase this wine in their gift store. They also manufactured, of course, their own olive oil and different brands of sauce. So it was a small, sustained farm, not huge quantities, not commercial, but it's nice to come here and be able to take some things back for home. It was nice to go on this excursion and be surrounded by the greenery and beautiful scenery. And that's one of the reasons to do an excursion, because the port is not really, you still need transportation into the city of Florence. So that's another reason to do an excursion. And it's important to look at where the boat docks. So there was also a storm in the course of the night that we did not feel, because that's how Oasis of the Seas is built. Our next excursion was into Rome, and that is also far from the port. If you choose not to do an excursion, you're visiting a different city. You're visiting Civitavecchia, I think it's called, which looked fine enough, but I guess you got on this cruise expecting to see Rome, and that requires an excursion into the city. Rome has changed a lot from the last time I've been here. There was also a lot of construction going on, because next year is the big Jubilee of the Catholic Church, and they expect millions of the faithful to come to Rome to attend Mass at St. Peter's Basilica. But for us, Manuel and Isoli had picked a tour that said a low impact walking tour of Rome. So you would get to see the Colosseum, you would get to see the Vittorio Emanuele or Emanuele Vittoria Monument, you'd get to see the Pantheon, and this excursion also included lunch in the area close to the Pantheon. Even though it was September, it was still very hot in Rome, and the sun was still beaming down on us. So that kind of took a toll on me, and no matter how low impact this tour was, I was getting tired and depleted quickly, but not so quickly that I didn't get to walk by the Colosseum, and I didn't get to view the Emanuele Vittoria, the building that's called the Wedding Cake, and is built in honor of King Victoria II, who was the first king after the unification of all the Italian states. So that's another reason why you see Emanuele Vittoria in a lot of cities in Italy. Rome is a very popular tourist destination, and I felt that very much this time. because there were loads of bus tours coming into the city, dropping off loads of tourists like myself as we walked this enclosed area, because now it is no longer open to cars. It is a strictly pedestrian, and there was a lot of construction going on, as I've stated before, because the city was getting ready for the Jubilee. Emmanuel and Isley were very thoughtful in their selection of tours. They were very considerate that I might not have the energy nor the stamina nor the ability to really enjoy this tour, which is why they picked a low impact tour. But it's just the nature and the design of Rome is that it requires a lot of walking if you want to see the sights. And the other thing was, it was very hot. So dehydration was occurring. And at some point I was just like, where are we meeting for the restaurant? Because we'll just meet you at the restaurant. And the tour guide was very accommodating. I will say this though, coming off a ship, this is still the best way. It's the best deal for you to be able to see the city of Rome. And it will make you want to come back.
I have an appointment with my arch enemy Maximus Decimus Meridius, the gladiator. Have you seen him, the gladiator? No? You know, he's tall like this, you know. He has a big gun. You know, I can't quite hear it.
What?
Why? Because you are so young, so big.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's good for women to seem younger, you know.
Good?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
This tour is designed also for families, so they tried to make it low impact by giving you places to rest, and they came up with the creative way of having actors come and portray scenes related to the history of the site. I give them credit for that, but it made me feel like I was back in grammar school. So I got into a cab and headed off to where the restaurant was, and the restaurant was close to the Pantheon, which is of course a Greek temple that then got converted into a Catholic church. So this area is also highly touristic because that's where all the sites are. That's where the Pantheon is. That's where the Trevi Fountain is. That's where the Plaza Nova is. So, yeah, folks, it was packed and everybody was traveling because people are still making up for COVID. I guess they realized they nearly died, so they were going to make the most of life. And I can't blame them. I was right out there with them. As I said, this excursion was the best way to see the city and experience a little bit of it so that you can fall in love and decide to come back. After lunch, the next stop was St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican. And the Vatican, of course, is a small country of its own of the Catholic Church, ruled by the Pope within the city of Rome. You can't come to Rome without going to the Vatican because it is truly large and beautiful and so much to see, including the Sistine Chapel. So at this point, though, I will be honest, I was sitting on the tour bus. I couldn't take the heat anymore. I didn't want to walk anymore. And I had the benefit of already visiting the Vatican on numerous occasions. So I was grateful for that. But the other people on the tour with me had not. So I'm grateful that they got to see it and they got to be impressed by the size of St. Peter's Basilica. These views of the Vatican are thanks to Emmanuel, who is taking a lot of pictures, and his perspective was interesting. He was capturing the beauty of the architecture. He was showing what was catching his eye, and his enthusiasm just built as the different ports we entered came into our lives. So as you can see, there was always a crowd at the Vatican, but there is no entrance fee. So it's just a matter of having patience to wait online to get into the plaza. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and remember to like, subscribe, and share.